Oh, I gotta rename the rename it too. All right, guys, just give me 1 second. I'm making sure the
Oh,
links
make sure
are
the
I'm making
yep.
sure the links are in the description and everything. Dwerve, Kickstarter, starter live stream finale party.
This is exciting. We're probably gonna reach the Switch goal on stream, so that should be pretty exciting.
Heck yeah.
Send me the link when you're done.
Okay. I think this is the link. Click it, double check it. Adding tags to the video.
Yep, we are good.
We're gonna start reading the chat momentarily. Just give us a sec, guys. We're gonna start reading the chat momentarily. First, all right. Can't wait to play this game, says John. Me too, John. I can't wait to play this game. Okay, so today we're gonna show you guys some towers and monsters that have never been seen before, unless you watched it earlier today. All right, I think we're gonna be ready to start in a sec. Let me share that same link around on Twitter. If you guys are following Half Human or pixelpete on Twitter, the art competition is still ongoing, and there is some really cool stuff that people have posted. Someone made a crochet dwerve, right?
Yes, that one was pretty neat.
All right, I think we are good. Let me double check the sound. Does it sound good? The sound effects aren't too loud, right, guys? Yes, the release is still planned for 2021, and we're aiming for summer 2021, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
June.
yeah, June.
My
Thanks.
bad. Setting up a couple of things still, and I'll be able to start monitoring the chat and answering questions. I want to get this up on Steam page too.
Huzzah! You guys made another stream. Greetings from Australia. Thanks, Glenn. All right, so I think I'm gonna start. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it.
Welcome back. Hey guys, check this out. Look at all these towers that weren't in the demo. And I think there's some even in this sandbox that we have yet to put in. One of the newest towers that we have here is the Chakram. All these towers are going to have upgrades. They're going to have an upgrade tree, which is one of the cool things about Dwerve. You can basically customize how you want your tower to act. So for example, the crossbow will have fire arrows, piercing arrows, stuff like that. So it's a fun RPG aspect where you can customize a skill tree for every tower. I'm going to show off some of the new towers here. I'm going to pick the Chakram, I'm going to pick the Flamethrower, the Punch Tower, and I think what else have you guys not seen? Let's do the Goat Trap. This is a little level where basically we use it for testing different towers out and spawn at all sorts of different enemies as well. This is one of my favorite towers, the Punch Tower. And as you can imagine, It punches enemies. So check this out. It's great when there's a pit around, because it doesn't matter how much health the enemy has. They're gonna die in a one shot. Bigger enemies though, heavier enemies though, do get pushed back less.
So I'm just gonna answer some questions. Are the tree animations done in Unity? So yes, we actually use a tween for that. So we use DoTween, which is a popular tweening library for Unity, and we use a combination of a basically a skew and a scale to make it look like it's blowing in the wind. We might revisit that later to make it frame by frame so it's consistent with the rest of the game, but that would take a bit of time. So we did the tween for now at least, but it looks pretty good. I know some people like to they like the pixel frame by frame. They're like, oh, it should be like the rest of the game, but see, we'll probably come back to it at some point.
There are also shaders that we haven't messed around with too much, and so for example, a lot of the stuff that we have animated, we use the Unity animation system, but there's also shaders that can animate quite a bit of stuff. Here's a new tower that you guys haven't seen. It's actually a trap, and it's a goat head that's animated in a barrel of dynamite. So what'll happen is enemies will attack this and it explodes. The enemies that are going to spawn out of these garrisons are also new enemies. They're skeletons.
So someone asked about the demo. You can play the demo on Steam. I just linked to it inside of the chat. And I will also link to the Kickstarter in case you want to help us push us over that goal. We only need, let's see, yep, about 500, a little over $500, and we reach the Switch goal.
So close. It is the last day, guys. It is the last day. This is going to be the last stream. You're joining us for the finale party.
Oh, hey, we each went up. 49,639. So about $350 to go, and we got it.
I think we're gonna reach it on the stream, which is gonna be amazing. I think so
too. It's pretty exciting.
So as you can see, the chakram turrets, they bounce around, so they're really good in tight spaces. The skeletons are so strong though; they're destroying the towers before they even get up. So different towers have different health. And you can check that out when you're in the workbench or Slaw's shop. So on the left there, you can see that we're gonna show the stats for the towers. So you'll see the health, the damage, whether it's AOE, and the range. So that way, if you really want to think about your setup and you're a number cruncher type of person, you'll be able to really decide exactly what kind of loadout you want.
So in regards to what's strong versus towers, it really depends on the type of enemy. Like each enemy kind of has their own kind of strengths and weaknesses in terms of what enemies or situations they are best against. A quick example is so like weak swarm enemies, they don't do well against the slice turret because it's an AoE tower. But if a pack gets to, let's say, the crossbow turret, they'll take it down really quick. So also fast enemies, if they can outrun the arrows, like the crossbow turret misses, it doesn't do as well. But at the same time, you can usually use combos and strategies to make a turret that might otherwise miss. You mix it with, let's say, the tar trap, and now you can slow enemies so that the turret doesn't miss. So there's different combos and situations where you can make a tower shine.
Yeah, I think really the tar trap combos really well with a lot of towers. So I'll show you guys the mortar tower. And the mortar tower, it can shoot over walls, which is pretty cool. But if enemies get right next to it, it cannot attack right next to it. It's not good for hitting enemies right next to it. So what you can do is you can protect it with, for example, a spike trap. And actually, since the mortar is slow, a good way to make sure it lands its hits is, for example, to put down a bear trap. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys that strategy. It's pretty cool how you might be stuck and feel like an area is hard, but if you just do a different combination of towers, it becomes so much easier. And that's what we want people to do when they play Dwerve. We want people to experiment with different loadouts and layouts.
Thank you, Manta, for the 15 pledge. We really appreciate that. I looked again. We just shot up again, which is awesome. So thank you for that. So we are at 49,750. So 250 to go. That's pretty exciting. That's awesome. So another thing, I should have actually mentioned it when you were using the axe turret. So even things like attack speed and damage really play a big role in when a tower is useful. So the axe turret, it has a slow attack speed, but it does really high single target damage. So it's great for attacking larger, stronger enemies like the ogre scroll crusher. But at the same time, if a pack swarms it, it will fall quicker because of that slow attack speed. And the inverse, the slice turret, well, the spin blade turret will do really well against swarms, but it will get destroyed, much more quickly and be less effective against larger, stronger enemies. How much time is left? 6 hours to go. So it ends at 3 a.m. Eastern time. So yeah, 6 hours. Yeah. So this is it. This is the final stretch.
Some of the towers have a knockback. So obviously the biggest one is the punch tower, but towers that you might not expect to have knockback are the chakram tower. Then the mortar's explosion, it knocks back enemies as well. So there's combinations that you can do to knock enemies into pits, and that's one of the funnest ways to get rid of enemies. I'll show you that, guys, right here. I'll put down 2 chakrams, and if they're fast enough, I think they'll be fast enough, they'll be able to knock the enemies off the level, like right there. It's so satisfying to knock enemies off the level. You can also knock enemies, I believe, into water, and we might have some other, things to knock enemies into. For sure, we're gonna have lava. Yeah, it's gonna be fun
Actually,
to do that one.
we actually just added like a little splash effect to everything. So it feels pretty cool. Actually, I think it's in the demo. I think we got it in right before we pushed the demo out. But it's cool watching a little lava splash or a little water splash. It's super subtle, but it's one of those things just make it feel a little bit better, a little bit juicier.
The electricity in Dwerve stuns enemies, so it's used to keep enemies in place.
Yeah, we added a little shock effect for all the enemies when they get zapped. So that's pretty cool to look at too.
The Sunray turret, what it's really good at is shooting enemies in a straight line because it goes through enemies.
Yeah, that one's pretty awesome. Does a bunch of damage. One thing I noticed though is we need to modify it so the light source covers the whole beam.
Oh yeah. It is one of the most powerful towers right now.
Thank you so much, Lego. We appreciate that. Yeah, if you can't pack, no worries. Yeah, just telling people about it, retweeting, sharing, like that means the world. So any way you can support us is awesome. So thank you for that. I see we have a couple of people on the Steam page, but the chat is not working for some reason. But if you guys hop over to the YouTube, I'll see if I can fix the chat. Not sure what's going on, but yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us on the YouTube chat because we're streaming on both.
Yeah.
This is our first time. I think we were streaming to like several different places at once, so it took a little bit to get it all set up and figure out what we were doing. Hardcore model. Oh, mode. I thought that exclamation point was an L. Hardcore mode. Maybe we'll add like some crazy mode where it's super hard. I think the game's probably already hard enough. But why not? It's something maybe we'll consider doing.
After the Kickstarter, one of the things that we're going to do is balance difficulty. We have a lot of enemies and a lot of towers, but it takes a very long time to balance everything. So one of the reasons why we didn't want to just make everything available in the demo is because there's so much balancing that we still need to do.
Yeah, so like for example, obviously in the trailer you saw a lot of the other biomes and enemies. So we made those specifically for the trailer. If you actually tried to play those, like you would just get swarmed and die. It takes a long time to make really well designed and well balanced battles. We've iterated on the demo levels like so many times. So as soon as the Kickstarter ends, that's basically what we're gonna do. We're gonna build out the rest of the levels for the game, and just keep iterating on them over and over. And if you backed the beta, the bug hunter tier, which is the $40 tier, you will get beta access, and you will help us improve those levels. And you can tell us why they're bad or why they're awesome and whatnot. And there's lots of things in general we want to try out and experiment with, so you'll be able to help us figure out what works and what doesn't. Are there going to be any extra powerful towers that cost 3 or more gems? We originally thought about that.
Yeah, we thought about that a lot.
We don't have plans for it. It's not like entirely off the board. It's more like we currently didn't do it because, you know, we'd rather you place more towers, so we'd rather them be roughly equal in like strength.
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe we would do that, but we would definitely give you more power stones, so that way you wouldn't just place down like one tower. But yeah, we've messed around with the idea of having sections in the game where we give the player more power stones, so you temporarily feel like you're super strong and you have a bunch of towers. There's a bunch of cool things like that we plan on doing in the game.
Yeah, that kind of follows up with Arthur's question. So, have we tested more crystals and more equipped traits? Not yet, but we definitely want to. We do need to think about controls, though. You know, you only have so many buttons, at least on a controller. But it's definitely something we would like to explore. We want to make sure it doesn't overwhelm the player, but if we can find a good, clean way to do that, you know, towards the end of the game, maybe for some larger climactic battles, you know, just give you a bunch of turrets and a bunch of power stones, and you know, we definitely want to explore and try and get some really fun, crazy scenarios in the game. Reese, Dwerve looks really interesting. Thank you. And just in case anyone's not aware, we do have a demo on Steam. I will relink to it every time I say that, just so I know the chat goes up kind of quick. So we have a demo on Steam, and we have 6 hours left on our Kickstarter, and we are $250 away from the Switch goal. Oh, I
250.
lied. Wait, it went up. We're 200. We're 200. Every time I go to the page, it waits a second, then it resyncs with the server. So I always say it behind. So we're 200. Did you get the Switch goal? No, we're 200 away from getting it. So we're at 49,799. The Switch goal is at 50,000. So we're about there. I think we're gonna get it in the next hour. So hopefully while we're on stream, that would be pretty exciting. What are some wacky tower designs you guys tried but scrapped?
We
I don't know
had
if we
we had a chicken coop. We had a chicken
wait,
coop, and
yeah, that might go in though. Still, that one's really cool.
I think that was one of the wackier ones. The
We didn't really scrap it because it was bad. It was more like we backburned it because we didn't really, you know, have programming for spawning like allies yet. But we would like to
yeah.
do that one maybe. But I don't know. Do we have any ideas where we're like, nah, it's not a good idea? I feel like we got rid of those bad ideas in the design discussion phase.
Right. Or we ended up fusing ideas together where we were like, oh, what about a tower that does this or this? And then we found an idea that kind of combines those two. So
Yeah.
part of the one of the things that we wanted the flamethrower to do is AoE damage, but we didn't want it to have more range than, for example, the crossbow. We really try to make every single tower kind of like shine, like have a purpose for you to use it in a specific scenario.
And some things we also did, some ideas, we turned them into upgrades. So for example, we're like, hey, let's make a poison trap, and then we were like, that sounds like how do you, what's the best way to do that? And then we're like, well, how about this? Why don't we make the tar trap, one of the upgrades, be poison tar? So some of the ideas we had, you know, like exploding arrows or poison arrows, stuff like that, we transformed those ideas into turret upgrades.
Hmm.
If you were a visual artist, what path would you take into making games? It really depends on what type of games you want to make art for. If you want to do, you know, 3D games and you want to make models or animations, you basically gotta, you know, learn that specific craft. If that's what I think that's what you're asking. But you know, if you want to do pixel art, learn pixel art. If you know, want to make 3D games, either pick modeling or animation. Start with one and then maybe try the other.
Yeah,
Um,
there's definitely a lot of work you could find as an artist for indie games. We searched for an artist and a musician, so you can always find teams to work with. So I would go that route if you want to get into the games industry, but you don't maybe have a degree or whatever. Create a really nice portfolio, and then you should be able to find work online if you got a decent portfolio.
Yeah, and again, like if you don't do programming, you can try like a engine like Game Maker, or you can better yet find a programmer to partner up with. But yeah, the that's like a hard question to answer because the games industry is so vast. So like if you want to do like AAA, I would say specialize in something and just really just like let's say you wanted to do models for like a AAA studio, just make a bunch of really awesome 3D models and make a portfolio, and then send them your resume. So portfolios are really the way to go. But if you want to stay indie, you might want to get a little more well-rounded and form a team and make smaller projects. All right, let's see. I think I missed some questions. Hell yeah, dude! I had pizza tonight. Man, I am jealous of you guys talking about pizza. I know that's completely irrelevant to Dwerve, but I saw that and was like, man, bacon pepperoni mushroom pizza sounds good.
I want to learn how to make pizzas. I've made a pizza once, and it was like a homemade pizza, and it was pretty bad. So I gave up on ever trying to make pizzas at home again.
Okay, this is ridiculous, but I did it anyways. So we made a homemade pizza. It was like me and my friends. So we made a homemade pizza, and then we made hamburger patties, but we filled them with mac and cheese. And we basically used the pizza as the bun for these mac and cheese filled hamburgers. It sounds like
It
it
was
would
a
taste
food
good, but
experiment.
it was a mess. It was falling apart, and it was a mess. All right, I'm sorry. I got a little sidetracked there with food. I'm a big foodie. All right, let's see. Have you considered giving the character more combative abilities like a shield and a parry button? So, yes, I'm actually going to
Yeah.
write down the parry button right now. We didn't have that on our list, but we do have plans to give the player a shield, and we also want to add like a little or a special attack with the hammer where you smash the
A hammer
ground and does an
smash. Yep.
AoE damage, and it pushes all the enemies back. So it's kind of like a oh crap ability that push everyone away so you can escape and reposition. Um, you know,
I'm gonna pull
and
up
rebuild
some
your
of
kind of
the art
defenses.
that we showed before. I think it's really fun
Yeah,
for
good
people to
idea.
see that.
We would love to talk to you guys about how you got such a successful Kickstarter campaign. Yes, so if you want to ask us questions or like do an interview or a text interview or anything, um shoot us an email at contact@halfhumangames.com.
It was hard. We had to build a fan base very very fast. So I think it took us about a I think we started building a fan base about a year and a half ago, right?
Yeah, a year and a half, 2 years ago. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
One, two, probably about 2 years. Yeah.
And
Post every day.
PJ went ham on Twitter. We were posting in screenshot Saturdays, and then I started making the YouTube videos. So that's kind of how we built such a big fan base for Kickstarter. It's kind of hard to tell how much of that is the marketing that we did and how much of that is Kickstarter. But I'm sure it helped plenty.
Dude, Kickstarter is surprisingly like really important. It's definitely a little more Kickstarter, but yeah, we got a solid amount from our existing fan base, which is super awesome. Especially our Discord. Discord's super active. Actually, let me link to that. So, we have a Discord server. It's super active. Everyone there is super friendly. We have channels for programming, art, audio, to ask us questions, to give feedback. So we have a pretty awesome Discord. So if you guys have not joined it yet, there is the link. We're pretty active on there, so you can just tag us and ask us if you have a question or anything. I know this is way too early, but do you see a franchise out of this? Yes, we would love to do that. We would love to create, sure, we might want to do a sequel and DLC, but even like different games with different gameplay, but that take place in the same universe.
Yeah, Dwarve has definitely enough lore and a big enough world that so many different games could take place in this world.
Yeah, it's definitely something we would like to do, and we definitely have given it a bit of thought. We would love to do that.
Here's one
So,
of the new enemies that we're working on, and basically the enemy's gonna have an AOE attack where the troll spins sort of like a little scythe weapon. I forget what it's called.
oh, Kusarigama. My bad. I was reading the chat
Kusarigama.
question.
Yeah,
Kusarigama. It's okay, just to explain it. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. Somebody's like, hey, somebody might be like, you're totally pronouncing that wrong, but that's my attempt at it. So it's basically a chain with a scythe blade at the end. Um, so yeah, it's a pretty cool weapon. It's generally associated with like ninjas. I think I could be wrong, but yeah, it's a pretty cool weapon.
we have a poop slime here So we can't wait to put that in the game.
It's
That's
the same
probably
thing as a slime, but we just were like, let's have a slime that we can throw in like the caves or dungeons or something.
our silliest enemy. I don't know if you guys noticed, but some of the enemies have shields, and if they get hit with an arrow, it'll say block. So some enemies, they counter some towers, and we really like designing enemies that sort of have a unique thing to them. So either they have an AOE or they're ranged. The flying enemies, they can fly over pits and water. Some enemies usually come out in clusters, like the rats will come out in clusters, and it really it gives each enemy sort of like a different AI. Some enemies will run really fast, some will stay back and shoot at the player. The what are they called?
Oh, assassin guy, he's gonna actually try to avoid the towers and target you. And if there's towers in the way, he does a big spinning attack to just knock him out the way. So, that guy, the assassin's gonna target dwarves. So we have different kind of behaviors like that.
Yeah, the Grenadier, that's a new enemy that we're working on, and he's going to be able to throw bombs over walls. That's going to be really cool. Here's some concept art. You can see that these are different. In this file, some of the art is just concept art. Here you can see that a bunch of different concepts we had for the observer. Even these right
So,
here are concept.
so a pretty good question from Lynn. I'm wondering about the plan for progression and growth. Right now, there's no XP and leveling of Dwarf himself, right? So the replacement for XP is the coins you can find to use with slot. So yes, that is correct. So there's two kind of main progression mechanisms, and the first one's a little simpler, and that's basically abilities. So just like you get the boots and the boomerang, those other abilities that we we're talking about, like the shield and the hammer and stuff, you kind of collect a couple more abilities for Dwerve himself. Some will be active, some will be passive.
Yeah, that'll be
But
a
the
little bit
main
more like Zelda, where as you play the game, your character gets more abilities.
Yeah, but the main progression point is the turret upgrades. So, in the demo, you're collecting all of that scrap, and the scrap is used to purchase upgrades at Slaw's shop. So each turret and trap has its own little mini upgrade tree. It won't be anything crazy. Maybe like 5 to 7 upgrades. Um, and you can even branches a little bit, so you can kind of decide, which kind of route you want to take. And the whole point of that is to really not only make the turrets stronger, but allow you to kind of customize them in the way that you prefer, the way that caters best to your playstyle or your preferred strategies. In addition to that, you're we have like 15 turrets and traps, so you're constantly going to be getting new turrets and traps. That should make it a lot of fun too. So constantly getting turrets and traps and constantly being able to upgrade them. That's
Yeah,
the main progression plan.
yeah, we plan to basically we have I think 15 or so towers, right? And we plan to introduce them pretty frequently. So throughout the entire game, you're constantly going to have a sense of progression because you'll always be getting new stuff. We're going to trickle stuff throughout the game very frequently. So it should be pretty fun. I think it's going to be about every two or so zones, right? We're going to end up having new towers.
About every other level. We should be doing. And look, I just checked, and we got it. We got 50,000.
We're
We got
coming
the
to
Switch
Switch,
goal.
boys!
We got the goal. That's awesome. That's so exciting. I'm not gonna lie, I was worried a little bit, but we did it. We did
Yeah,
it.
me too. We really
We
wanted
did
to
it.
release on Switch.
Yeah, that was a big one. It's like it's like a Zelda inspired like game. Like you got to release on Switch. It's like in general, tower defense is really good for like kind of mobile. So playing on the go with Switch it felt appropriate for Dwerve. Thanks to everyone who backed and supported us, or even just the post or told their friends. Thank you so much for helping us reach this milestone. It is huge for us. Peter and I have been working this game for almost 3 years, like 2.5, a little over 2.5 years. Um, and now our team also consists of Insha and Morty, and all of us have worked very hard on Dwarves. So it means a lot that you supported us in this Kickstarter, and we're really glad that you guys are excited about Dwarve. It means a lot to us.
Someone asked, "What's the next stretch goal?" I actually don't. I don't remember. What is it? Though? That'd be funny if we reached the next stretch
Well,
goal in the next
we
few
kind of
hours.
like. Maybe I should add something. I honestly, we kind of reordered our stretch goals around a little bit, but well, I think what we had for one of them was a mount, but that was like 5,000 more. So I don't know if we'll. I guess I could add it, but I don't know if we'll reach it.
Check out this
Still,
biome sheet, guys. This is basically concept art for the different biomes as well. We have a lot more art now, but this file right here shows a lot of the initial ideas for the biomes. A big thing in that we wanted to make sure is that each biome looked different. So as you can tell, it sort of has like a color palette, and it sticks to a color palette. Here we have like the purples, here we have browns, oranges, and that should make every biome pretty cool and unique. Really neat seeing that big A-Sprite file. Yeah, we usually don't work in one big A-Sprite file, but it's a good way to compare a bunch of sprites. I think Photoshop's a little bit better because you can create folders and stuff like that, but I do prefer to work in A-Sprite for most of the pixel art that I do. All right, let me open
Kickstarter.
up. I think you broke out for a sec there, PJ.
Oh, oh no. Well, in case anyone missed that, Peter and I just were experimenting with ideas until we came up with Dwerve, which we both liked, and it stuck. So we just kind of kept going with it.
Yeah, pretty much everything you said before that wasn't heard. I don't know why, but your
Oh,
audio cut
okay.
out.
Best wishes on your indie company. Thank you so much, Marco. I want to buy this game. Well, you can kind of pre-order it via Kickstarter. You can support us on Kickstarter, and if you back some of the higher tiers, you can get shirts, posters, a SNES style box with a SNES cartridge. It is decorative, so it's for display purposes only. So have an art book. It's gonna have a bunch of cool sketches. I think Peter's gonna show some of the sketches that will be included in the art book. Actually,
Yeah, I did
how
show
would
I did show some of them.
oh, okay, cool, cool. My bad. I'm like my eyes are on the chat.
No, it's all
How
good.
will the designer pledges work. So basically, we'll just get in contact with you, and we'll work with you. If you're an artist, you can draw, concepts for us, or you can just send us reference images, and we'll basically work with you to create, the NPC or enemy or whatever content you backed. Work that to create that with you. It can be if it's like an NPC, it can be in your likeness and even have your name, or it can be a character of your own design and use some sort of made up name. As long as it's all appropriate and doesn't break immersion or isn't too kind of too silly, it should be fine.
Yes, I see someone in the chat that's like, once you guys get on Switch, I'm taking out my wallet. Yes, thank you, thank you. Hopefully, us making it to Switch convinced some people to back. Yeah, you'll be able to choose whether you want the Switch version.
Yeah, we're basically going to send a survey out. So a couple people asked like if the digital copy includes the option for Switch, and the answer is yes. So we are going to send a survey out and ask what platform you want it for, or yeah, you want it for. And yes, the other guy is PJ. I'm the other dev. Peter and I are the two main full-time devs. And then our other teammates are Enche, who does art and animation, and then Morty, who does sound design and music. So Peter and I are the devs that are on the project full time, and we share pretty much like all the responsibilities. We both do programming, we both do game design and level design. I do a little bit of art, but Peter's a little more heavy on the art side, and I'm a little more technical with the programming. How are you guys going about getting on Switch? So basically, you apply to become a Switch developer, and then you get access to like their tools, and then of course you'll need to get the SDK. I forget the exact price, but I think it might be like $450 or something. But it's not that bad. The main work is really making sure that you develop the game, meet the Nintendo Switch like the console standards and the hardware standards. So
Yeah, meeting
um,
the standards can be kind of annoying because what can happen is if they reject your submission, then I know at least for PlayStation and Xbox, you have to pay the submission fee every time that you resubmit it.
Do you do all level backgrounds in Sprite? I think all of game art's done in Sprite. Maybe
Yeah,
like a
pretty
lighting,
much.
like texture, if you done in Photoshop, but pretty much the characters, the turrets, the tile sets, those are all done in Sprite. What about the hero status? Can we design those? The hero stat? Oh, the statues? Yeah, yeah. So when you get a statue, you're part of that design. So it can look like you or a character you create. So if you
I'll
get
show
a
that on the
statue
Kickstarter.
or a monument, you do design that. All right,
Yeah.
let me go ahead and update that stretch goal so that we have the switch unlocked.
Did you guys? I gotta show them the um crochet. This is my
Oh yeah, yeah.
favorite. This is my favorite thing that somebody
It's
made.
on. I posted it on Twitter. I posted it on Twitter.
Yeah, yeah. I'm showing it right now. That's pretty incredible. I want that. Don't you want that thing? Oh my god.
Yeah, we need to make it a we need to make it a pledge reward.
It's
Yeah,
so
that
good.
was really creative.
I'm
I'm gonna
going to the
go quiet.
Kickstarter, and I think it might be worth it to explain a few things on the Kickstarter.
Yeah, good
So,
idea. Good idea.
so here are the goals that we have reached. We're gonna have a boss rush mode, and then there's gonna be an overworld map. We're pretty eager to design that and do that one. More enemies. We showed you some of the new enemies, but there's more. Extended story, more turrets. Pet Airy. This one was a funny one, but I literally had someone message me and they were like, "Oh, I want that goal." We might make Airy a little bit more interactive and do a few more things in the game, but someone asked if like Airy will fight with you. Probably not. Maybe for a section of the story, but Airy's more of a of a companion than an ability of dwarves.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna try and like brainstorm ideas, to maybe we can come up with some cool ideas to get Ari involved in the gameplay. Um, if we can, cool. We're not gonna force it though. We'll see what we can come up with.
So in regards to um the higher tiers here, when you back anything that's in the Hall of Heroes, this is going to be in the game. So anyone that plays the game, they're going to be able to come to this room and see all the Kickstarter backers. And there's going to be a shrines and monuments, and basically based on how much you back is what you get. So if you did the $60 tier, you will get on the rune wall. This is basically like a wall of credits. It's going to be pretty cool. When a player walks up to this, it'll show everyone that backed the rune wall tier. And then you'll be able to have a rune stone, and the rune stone, you can have your name, maybe a tiny a little phrase, and higher than that is the statue. And with the statue, you get to design the statue with us, so we can make the statue look like you, or something that you like. And as you can see, there's plaques on the front of the statues, so when you walk up to this, that's how you're going to see the information on the statue, who the person was that backed, etc. And then there's the monuments. The monuments are going to be huge, and they're going to be super big, super cool. And there's a little plaque here in the front as well, for when people enter this. The Hall of Heroes is going to be pretty big. We got quite a bit of people that are going to be part of that. It's going to be really exciting to put that into the game. I think it's a really, really cool way to show off the people that backed Kickstarter. It's going to be a beautiful room.
Yeah, I think it's one of my favorite scenes in regards to the lighting. Like I just love how it looks with the glowing like etchings, the
Oh
rune
yeah, me
etchings.
too.
All right, my bad. I'm updating the stretch goal graphic to show that we have got Switch. So that's pretty exciting.
Think I can show you guys some of the process of how we came up with some of the stuff. So for Gromble, this was a concept where we were trying to figure out how to entertain people when they first fight Gromble. So we were thinking that maybe just his nose would be sticking out of the ground. We had a couple of different ideas. What we decided to go with was the stone, because it shows how strong Gromble is, and also he's in the earth. We really wanted it to seem like he's part of the environment. So here are some concepts for what the for the boss battle area and what it might look like. And the stone is also going to block your path, so it kind of feels like, you know, you got to get past the stone, and it ends up being Gromble that is the gatekeeper. Here's some early animations of Gromble, and as you can see, Enche here, he created chunks so that way we could see kind of what the animation would be like, and then after this he goes in and he details it. It's pretty cool to see the process of how, you know, this something so complicated like this was once just a sketch like this. But even this is so impressive to us. And Enche's pretty incredible. The perspective and the colors, they're just awesome. A lot of times I'll draw concepts and then Enche ends up animating them and finalizing them. Some of the early art in Dwerve was done by me, and then we had Enche sort of go over it so everything would match his style. You could see that earlier here in the village props. Enche did a pass on these so that they're all brighter, more saturated, and that way, even if we have multiple people doing art for Dwerve, we make sure that the art is cohesive. There's a really amazing attention to detail when Enche did these animations. So for example, if you look closely, literally the earring dangles and shakes on the ear. It's incredible, the attention to detail that Enche does with all his animations. We haven't
Even the
this,
tongue.
yeah,
I love
even the
like the
tongue.
tongue wiggling. It's so
Me
good.
too, me
Oh,
too.
and even when he's lifting it too, you can see like the dirt like fall off the rock. Like yeah. It's so good.
So Gromble is the only boss that we've revealed. We plan on having a ton of other bosses, and each boss is going to, of course, act differently and be a puzzle of its own. So for Gromble, what we're thinking is that Gromble's going to control roots, and as you can see, Gromble's basically made of roots. So you'll see roots coming towards you, and you'll have to move out of the way and defend them. And it'll be really fun for us to sort of design these cool boss battles where it might be an unexpected way for you to play a tower defense game. I haven't really seen tower defense games that have boss battles quite like we're gonna do in Dwarf.
Yeah, we want each boss battle to be like really unique. So someone's asking if they're all gonna be like like static, like Rumble, where they can't move. And like, no, we're gonna make sure each one's like very different. That's one aspect of the game that we're pretty excited to get to, like just prototyping different ideas and experimenting with boss battle mechanics.
Here's basically a sneak peek of how we were testing the parallax. You can see it's quite a bit of layers here that we did. This was one of the funnest things I think that we did in Dwerve. It's really cool to pull off these artistic scenes like this, and we'll definitely have more of them in the game.
Yeah, we want to have one for each kind of like major location to kind of foreshadow where you're going, exactly like this one does. So it's like you see the village and then you see the gates. So we want to do something similar for each biome to really give you like a foreshadowing, but also just like a better perspective. It's nice to have like a kind of one shot, like boom, this is the world. Like I guess for the sake of world building, really.
Yeah, it makes it more immersive so that the camera isn't just always top down. It gives you a sense of depth.
Took
How
me a while to get that parallax.
how big is that boss sprite? Let me check really quick. So the boss sprite, each one of these is about 16, so it looks like it's almost 100 pixels wide, so it's pretty big. Yeah, that's a pretty big boss, considering Dwarf is basically one of these boxes right here. The entire rock is 6 times bigger than Dwarf. We try to stick within about a 16 by 16 constraint for most enemies, but we don't need to limit ourselves to that 16 by 16. So I have the grid up here, and you can see that for the most part, we want to keep the size similar to what the grid spaces will be. But we do have some enemies that are a little bit bigger. We don't want to go too overboard with the size of enemies because we want to make sure that they can fit between, a one tile wide area.
Yeah, we always try and so we do have our canvas, I think, like 48 that we have playing room for animations. So some people like they have the like, oh, I need to make sure all the animations fit inside of like a small grid. It's like, no, it just needs to look, fit comfortably in there. But definitely make sure you leave room for plenty of animations, especially if you have like winged creatures or a big weapon. Um, how did you do lighting? So we use an asset called Smart Lighting 2D.
Hmm.
So a lot of that's why we don't use unis. So we actually had it way before unis came out, and then when it did come out, it didn't have the features we needed. It might now. I'm not sure. You'll have to check out, the uni lighting. But we use Smart Lighting. Smart Lighting 2D, and it's awesome. It has tile map support, tons of options. It's performant. It took a while because we got it when it was like very early on in development, so it took a while to get the stability and performance that it has now. But it's awesome. We love it. I
Yeah,
actually wrote a blog post on it. Oh, let me see.
yeah.
Dwarve
Things like
lighting or something.
the lighting that'll probably also improve by the time Dwarve is done because we talk with the developer of it and we have a back and forth where he knows that we're using it for Dwarve and he wants us, of course, to love the product. So it's the lighting has been improving and it'll probably get even better by the time Dwarve is released.
All right, here we go. I wrote a blog post on it in case anyone's interested. I just linked it in the drive.
See you, lean thicks game dev. Thanks for watching. Crispy tofu, thanks for the shout out. If you guys don't back Dwerve, we appreciate just sharing anything on social media. Today's the final day. We reached the Switch goal, so the game's coming to Switch. And I will definitely be doing a lot more pixel art tutorials. It's not the end of the pixel art tutorials, and actually a lot of it might even be stuff that is going to be a reference to Dwerve. So I'll try to keep you guys updated on Dwerve on the Pixel Pete channel, but not too much is going to be revealed unless you're one of those beta backers or if you join our Discord. The Discord is really the best place to keep up with development moving forward.
Yeah, let me go ahead and post a link to that. Yeah, so of course you'll be seeing all the cool stuff that we're working on, but the beta testers will, they'll be the ones that you'll get to try it in actual battles. So if you want to be a part of that, back the Bug Hunter tier. It's $40. And you also get other stuff like the art book and digital soundtrack.
Battalion
Um,
said, backed as hell. Please back my game 15 years from now when I finish it.
please don't take 15 years to finish the game.
we've been working on Dwarve for 2 years and this is gonna be what the third year. So
Yeah, we're
I
almost
think
at 3 in a couple months.
yeah, so I think it's gonna probably take us about 3.5 years to finish Dwarf, and that's two of us
Yeah.
working on it. So if you were a solo dev trying to make Dwarf, it would probably take you something like 5 years. You got to be careful not to bite off more than you can chew when it comes to indie dev because it's very easy to come up with an idea and be completely sold on it, but you really got to try to make stuff, especially if it's your first game. Try to make stuff that's manageable.
Do you have a planned date for beta? So we don't have a specific date, but we're aiming to latest early next year. So by that time we should have really rough but a solid kind of outline of what the game will be like. And you can start testing out all the turrets that and enemies that you have been seeing Peter play in this sandbox level. 6 months and maybe 6 more. Yeah, if you're just starting out, especially if you're solo, you really don't have a small scope game. I recommend, if you're solo, aim for like 4 to 6 months, or even if you're not solo and you're just kind of starting out with a really small team. I would not do more than like 2 or 3 people.
The first game you do should probably be just learning the game engine, because in the process of learning a game engine, you're going to be doing tutorials, and you could turn those tutorials into a game. So, of course, the first game that I ever made, you guys can imagine it was a platformer in Game Maker, because that tends to be one of the first tutorials everybody does. But it taught me so much. So I would follow tutorials on YouTube. It's kind of sad that Bracky's YouTube channel is done. But I noticed that the Unity YouTube channel, is now starting to make videos a lot more frequently. And I think they're like, oh, Bracky's gave us the opportunity to now push our tutorials. Have you seen that, PJ?
No, I noticed that. That makes sense.
They're
Well,
really
even
high
though,
quality too.
yeah, and even though Brackies is done, the content's not going anywhere. So,
Right, right.
yeah, Brackies, and another good one is Code Monkeys. And of course there's the Unity Learn. So, hey Peter, check Discord real quick.
Yeah, I think we could add another stretch goal. It'll
All right, cool. I yeah, I
yeah,
got it.
I think we can add a stretch goal, but not make it too close, not make it too easy.
What are you thinking? I guess let's talk about it on stream, like YOLO, whatever. So,
Yeah, I'm thinking
I was thinking of
5,000.
doing the
I'm thinking at
okay,
5,000 higher than where we're
okay.
at.
All right, and I was thinking of doing the one we had planned with the Warhammer and the throwing axes. That one's pretty cool, probably, huh?
That's a really cool one. Dude, yeah.
All right,
A throwing axe and a warhammer, yeah, that's definitely super cool.
all right. Let's see. Gotta make a quick graph real quick. I should have prepared this before. I was, I was just so I was like, oh, I was too busy focused on getting the Switch goal. I wasn't like, oh, should we have something after?
Matthew said we're at 5,200 to 552,000. Oh my god, I can't read. Is that true? I haven't checked.
What are we at? We are at yeah, 50,000, almost 200. Yeah.
Yeah, so if we add that stretch goal for the warhammer, yeah, it's possible that we're gonna reach it.
All right. Let's see. I'm making it right now. I totally should have prepared this before. So I'm gonna go quiet for a little bit while I throw this together real quick.
I think we could actually end the stream. We showed most of the content, I think.
Yeah. If you guys have any, yeah, if you guys have any like last minute questions, um, what program do you use to make? Oh man, Morty was here earlier, so he's actually in Norway, so he's sleeping right now. I couldn't tell you what software he uses. Let me turn my money printer on.
So someone asked if we're familiar with the Pixel camera. Yeah, we tried the Pixel camera, but we have a lot of animated sprites that sort of move back and forth. And when you do that, and you have the
Scale
Pixel
and
camera,
rotate, like
yeah,
yeah.
when you scale and you rotate sprites, so for example, if we have a sprite doing this or wobbling, if you have the Pixel camera turned on, it really creates that sort of like jagged look to it. And some people like that, but we personally didn't think it looked that good, because since our art is so low resolution, it's like a lot of sprites are 16 by 16. If they're 16 by 16 and it increases the amount of jagginess to it, we didn't really like how it looked. So we're not going to be using the Pixel Perfect camera. We are going to try to improve all the lighting though, and all the sprites. There is plenty of optimization that we can still do with the Dwerve, but we don't think the Pixel Perfect camera is the way to go.
Yeah. Another question: do you make collisions for every wall? No, there's something built into Unity called a tile map collider, and you can basically define for tiles if it has collision on it, and then it creates this really optimized collider for the tile map. So that's what we're using for that. And then somebody mentioned Fmod. I will say we used that for our last game, and it made porting to consoles a pain. I don't remember why exactly, because we had publishers handle some of the ports, and they ran into some serious issues. I don't really see a need for Fmod to be or YYs, whatever, however you pronounce it. We're just using Unity Audio, and that's kind of it. We are using Master Audio, which is just a library to kind of make implementing sound effects easier.
Battalion asked if he can upgrade his Kickstarter. Yeah, you can. You can update your what you back.
I think if you go to the Kickstarter where it would say pledge, I think there you can hit manage pledge or something, and it should allow you to increase it.
Yeah. Yes. Neat Games said, "Do we use the tile map with the composite collider?" I believe that is
Yes.
how it's created. It's a lot more performant than putting a collider on every single wall tile.
Yeah, of course, and of course the composite cleans it all up. Yeah. What size are your character sprites? So we
About
make them
16
fit
by 16.
Yeah, about 16 by 16. We live a little. The canvas we work on though is 48 by 48, just so we have room for attacks or wings or stuff like that.
Yeah, the environment kind of decides, how big everything can be. So since the environment is based on a 16 by 16 grid, characters, of course, can be smaller, but they can't be much bigger. They can be a little bit bigger, but not too much bigger. So as you can see, Dwerve has free movement, so he can walk up all the way up to the wall, and a little bit of his sprite even goes over the wall. But if we have bigger enemies, we still want to make sure it looks like they can actually fit in between sections like this. All right, guys, I think we're going to end the stream here. We're so glad that you joined us and you witnessed us reaching the Switch goal. That was
That was
amazing.
pretty exciting. Yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. If we did miss any of your questions, head over to our Discord. We might not answer them tonight, but we're pretty active in there. We have a channel dedicated to questions for asking us. We also have one for feedback, pixel art, programming, and of course, if you haven't yet, you can check out the Dwerve demo on Steam and back us on Kickstarter if you haven't. So let me go ahead and drop some links in there. So here is, oops. Oh, what did I do? Oh, there we go. So there is the Discord, and then here's the Dwerve Steam page. And last but not least, we have the Dwerve Kickstarter. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.
All right, guys. See ya. Peace. Dev life.